Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 3 Legend of the Dragon King Part 17 based on novel. So let's start. As he was kicked back into the encirclement, Tang San discovered that his soul power was being consumed rapidly. In no time at all, 10 levels of soul power had been used up. Papapa. One by one, the upper-grade students broke free of the blue-silver grass. Tang San had bound so many people simultaneously, but they were able to break free of the blue-silver grass with their greater level of soul power. After breaking, the side effect of his variant blue-silver grass revealed itself. His soul power was quickly depleting. "Brat, you dared crash into me!" The upper-grade student shouted as he swung his fist towards Tang San's face. "Stop!" Mushi sharply shouted. The male student resentfully stayed his hand, but he still shoved Tang San onto the ground. Tang San finally noticed that Mushi was the one who had previously released that blazing light. Shockingly, 2 yellow 100-year soul rings rose up from her feet. Atop her head was a golden ball of light that blazed like the sun. On her left shoulder was a small, round flame, pulsing with energy. It seemed that this flame was her spirit soul. Its blaze was momentarily restrained, but the surrounding temperature had still risen by a few degrees. What kind of martial soul was this? It had an aura of power around it. The other upper-grade students hurried to get out of the way as Mushi walked towards Tang San. Although her martial soul's heat had been restrained, it was still as imposing and valiant as before. 2 rings. That meant she was already a soul grandmaster. "I am Mushi of 5th grade class 1. I want to compete with you in forging. If you have any desire to continue studying in this academy, then you can't decline," Mushi coldly stated. Ever since she was a child, Mushi had been an exceptionally competitive girl. Tang San glared at her. He hated people who threatened him the most, and soon, his stubborn side took over. Right as he was about to speak, an ice-cold voice intervened. "If you guys want to live, then stop spewing so much bullshit and screw off with your henchmen." Mushi's expression soured as her slender and tender body grew taut. Her eyes, however, revealed a trace of surprise. Others wouldn't know what was going on, but she was able to clearly feel a cold sensation on her neck. She felt that if she moved even an inch, her throat would be slit. She didn't dare move, not even to release her martial soul. "Make all of those guys leave." An eerie voice came from her side, accompanied by a face. Wasn't this Xie? Xie wasn't much shorter than Mushi, so he was able to wrap one arm around Mushi's shoulder while his other hand pointed his light dragon dagger at her waist. "You scoundrel! What do you think you're doing?" That previous upper-grade male student spoke out. Xie coldly answered, "My patience is limited. If you believe that I don't dare to act in the academy, then you can try my hand." As he said this, Xie exerted pressure through his light dragon dagger, causing Mushi to cry out in pain. "All of you, leave!" Mushi quickly shouted. She could clearly feel the killing intent from behind her. After all, she was only 12 years old. In a situation like this, she couldn't help but succumb to her rising fear. The upper-grade students had no other choice, so they began to leave. Right at that moment, however, a thunderous voice bellowed out, "Stop!" Xie's whole body shivered. He immediately put away his light dragon dagger and his invisible shadow dragon dagger. Immediately afterwards, a tall figure picked him up like a baby chick. "Sun with rays. Intermediate Division's teaching building. Out with it." "What happened?" Teaching Director Long Hongxiu asked with a frown. Mushi said with her head lowered, "I was just looking for Tang San to have a forging competition with me." Xie sneered. "You brought a whole group of henchmen to our 1st grade dorm. Is that how you senior students find people?" Long Hongxiu coldly glared at him. "Didn't you threaten your senior student with a blade? What would you have done if they hadn't stopped? Would you have really killed her?" Xie's lips began to twitch as his gaze swept the senior students with disdain. "I can't say for sure." Long Hongxiu turned towards Tang San. "What about you? You're the one who acted first. Do you have an explanation? Tang Wulin's eyes had a gentleness to them, but his expression was extremely resolute. When I was just a child, my dad explained some principles. When I entered the elementary academy, he told me that if he found out I was bullying my underclassmen, he would ruthlessly lecture me. However, if the older students bullied me, then I should hit them back without any hesitation and he wouldn't blame me at all. As he looked at the child in front of him, Long Hongshu was surprised to find that after acting as the teaching director for so many years, he had finally met someone who could leave him speechless. Well said. I don't think my student has done anything wrong either, Wu Zhongkong said with an ice-cold voice as he walked into the office. Long Hongshu's expression soured. Teacher Wu, have you already forgotten the most basic of manners, such as knocking? Wu Zhongkong coldly apologized, sorry. Long Hongshu's face twitched. Where's the sincerity in this guy's apology? He'd already caused headaches for the advanced division's teaching director. And now, even after being transferred to the intermediate division and being tasked with the worst class, he hasn't changed at all. The big taking advantage of the small, huh? You guys sure have some skill. Wu Zhongkong's ice-cold gaze swept through Mu Shi's group of 5th grade students. Taking advantage of the small isn't something I would do, but if I find that you've provoked my students again, I'll beat up the teacher in charge of your class. Long Hongshu furiously said, Teacher Wu, please conduct yourself with dignity. Wu Zhongkong coldly answered, if you can beat me, then I'll act with dignity. After speaking, he grabbed Xie's head with one hand and dragged Tang Wulin with the other. They left the teaching building. Long Hongshu angrily got up, wanting to stop Wu Zhongkong, but then he recalled the things Wu Zhongkong had dared to do in the advanced division. After recalling these things, he no longer had the courage to stop him. This guy was simply a madman. You guys. Every single one of you will face a round of disciplinary action. You truly are skilled if you can bully the weak as the strong. Red-hot anger sprouted out of the teaching director, completely directed at these 5th grade students. After leaving the teaching building, Wu Zhongkong released Tang Wulin's hand and walked in front of them. As he gazed at Wu Zhongkong's tall and straight back, Tang Wulin hastily picked up his pace to chase after him. Thank you, teacher. Wu Zhongkong indifferently said, you didn't do anything wrong, so there's no reason to thank me. No one is allowed to delay my classes. Xie caught up to them, a rare smile plastered on his face. Teacher Wu, you were so cool just now. I truly admire you. Even if you give us hellish training, I won't complain at all. Remember your words, Wu Zhongkong faintly said. Xie. Tang Wulin pulled on Xie's arm. I have to thank you too. Xie was somewhat vexed as he said, why are you speaking so awkwardly? You don't need to thank me. I just don't like it when people bully others with numbers, or when the big bully the small. Tang Wulin smiled. We're friends now. Xie's mouth twitched. You make friends too easily. I don't consider you my friend yet. Tang Wulin said, that's not important. Sun with rays. Xie soon began to regret the words he had said to Wu Zhongkong. Wu Zhongkong was definitely a teacher who was true to his word. He immediately began the physical training class he had spoken of the day before. The basics of physical training was running. In the intermediate division of East Sea Academy, there was a track field with an 800-meter-long loop. They were ordered by Wu Zhongkong to run 10 laps around this track in the morning as a warm-up. However, when they saw Wu Zhongkong take out 2 heavy chains, each weighing 10 kilograms and fashioned into metal shirts, for Tang Wulin and Xie to wear, the two didn't dare say anything. In fact, they could only rejoice. If it were yesterday, Xie definitely would have rebelled with that temper of his. But today, he didn't resist at all. Even though he was still haughty, he would still put his greatest effort into doing everything Wu Zhongkong commanded. Xie truly admired Wu Zhongkong. Xie had never thought of his own icy arrogance as shameful, he even considered it to be honorable. However, not only was this teacher colder and prouder than him, he was also extremely powerful. The title of icily arrogant Prince Charming was definitely a well-deserved one. Tang Wulin was silent. With regards to training at this intensity, he could only feel excitement. Xie was an agility system battle soul master, so despite wearing a 10-kilogram metal shirt, he was still very fast at the beginning. On the other hand, Tang Wulin's pace wasn't fast, but it was as steady as an army's march. 2 laps later, however, Xie and the other students' pace began to slow. They were panting and heaving after 4 laps, and their lungs felt as if they were burning. The metal shirt began to feel even heavier. Soon, Xie didn't even have the strength to regret the words he spoke to Wu Zhongkong. "How are you doing?" Tang Wulin's voice suddenly came from behind him. Xie turned around and saw that although Tang Wulin was sweating, his situation seemed much better in every way. "I'm still good," Xie said with gritted teeth as his pace increased once more. Would he actually let this guy overtake him? Tang Wulin's breathing was steady as he said, "It was reasonable for Teacher Wu to have us carry weights. After all, we're the representatives for our class in the class promotion tournament." Xie remained silent. For the current him, even speaking would be considered a burden. 5 laps. Xie was already unable to control his own body. To him, his body was as heavy as lead. Tang Wulin had actually passed him long ago. However, his situation was completely different from Xie. The 10-kilogram metal shirt was practically nothing to Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin had only just warmed up after running those 5 laps. Tang Wulin stealthily stretched out a hand and placed it under Xie's arm, making Xie feel lighter and allowing him to increase his pace. Xie looked at Tang Wulin in surprise. In response, Tang Wulin only smiled as he increased his pace and brought up Xie's pace to a run. Wu Zhongkong stood at the middle of the track, watching the defeated students with a serene expression and an occasional frown. "Tang Wulin, you sure have a lot of energy. Since you're bringing him along, you can run an extra 10 laps." Xie turned his head to look at Tang Wulin, only to see that his expression was just as calm as before. Tang Wulin simply muttered, "If I have an extra 10 laps, then I'll need to pick up my pace. I can't be late for lunch. I'm already so hungry after missing breakfast." Xie couldn't help but ask, "Are you even human? Aren't you tired at all?" Tang Wulin gave him a slight smile. "I'm still fine." At that moment, a girl walked through the gates that lead to the field from the direction of the academy buildings. She was dressed in white and was the same age as the students in the first grade's class 5. Although she wasn't particularly beautiful, she was still a bit delicate and pretty. With long black hair and black eyes, her build was about average among her peers. She was still very well proportioned, and her pair of bright eyes were full of life. As she walked forwards, her steps seemed to have a special rhythm to them, and her aura had an exotic feel to it. Wu Zhongkong's gaze soon landed on her as she wasn't wearing a school uniform. She had come while class was still in session. "What class are you in?" Wu Zhongkong asked as he walked over. The girl's attention seemed to have been attracted by something else, as she watched Tang Wulin run, who was dragging Xie along. Apparently, she had taken an interest in the 2 people wearing metal shirts. "I'm here to attend school. However, I was told that the registration period has already passed," she said as she looked up towards Wu Zhongkong. Wu Zhongkong's expression soured. "You're not an East Sea Academy student?" The girl said, "I'm not a student at the moment, but I still want to be a student here." "Is that possible, teacher?" If it were any other teacher, they might have immediately driven her away. However, was Wu Zhongkong just any other teacher? No. This is a Soul Masters Academy. If you want to attend here, then you must have the ability, Wu Zhongkong coldly said. "I can take a test." The girl smiled. Wu Zhongkong asked, "What's your name?" The girl answered, "My name is Gu. Wu Zhongkong nodded. "All right. I'll give you a chance." After speaking, he turned around and went over to Tang Wulin and Xie. "Xie, give your metal shirt to Tang Wulin and come over here." Due to Tang Wulin's assistance, Xie had completed the previous 2 laps in a relaxed manner. He quickly stopped, then took off his metal shirt and gave it to Tang Wulin. "Will you be all right with another metal shirt?" Tang Wulin said, "It's still lighter than you." He took the metal shirt and calmly put it on before picking up his pace right in front of Xie. His physical strength truly isn't human. Panting, Xie arrived at Wu Xiaokong's side. "Teacher Wu," Wu Zhongkong said, "your physical strength is too horrible." Xie defiantly said, "We agility system battle soul masters only need a burst of power and some nimbleness. We don't need to have too much physical strength." Wu Zhongkong disdainfully said, "How shallow. Fine then, I'll give you a chance today. Defeat her and you won't have to run in the afternoon." It was then that Xie finally noticed the girl at Wu Xiaokong's side. After sizing her up, he took a deep breath and adjusted his soul power. "No problem," Wu Zhongkong said, "I'll give you 20 minutes of rest. We'll begin after those 20 minutes are up." Xie didn't complain as he immediately sat cross-legged and began meditating. Running had consumed a lot of his soul power and physical strength. For agility system battle soul masters, this truly wasn't an area they excelled. Gu didn't even spare a glance for him. Instead, she looked all around at her surroundings with complete curiosity. Wu Zhongkong shot her a glance. "Looking down on your opponent isn't the smartest behavior." Gu said, "I'm not looking down on him." Although that's what her mouth said, her eyes seemed to be saying that Xie wasn't even worth looking down upon. Wu Zhongkong spoke no further. He diverted his attention back to the students who were running instead. Although Tang Wulin's pace couldn't be considered fast, it was exceptionally steady, even with the 2 metal shirts he wore. Like this, Tang Wulin somehow ran at the forefront. The person behind him was Zhu Shangxi, whose body's strength undoubtedly gave him an advantage in physical training such as this. Tang Wulin's attention was diverted to the center of the field as he ran. He was curious as to why this girl had suddenly appeared. Right as he looked at the new girl, Gu, she'd also turned to look back at him and their gazes met. Gu had a meaningful look in her eyes, which gave Tang Wulin the impression that her eyes were exceptionally sharp. 20 minutes soon passed. Xie shot forward and went through a few exercises. His body was once again brimming with energy. Wu Zhongkong nodded. "Stand 30 meters apart from one another and prepare." Xie retreated backwards, each step moving him back at an equal distance. From start to finish, Xie's gaze hadn't left Gu. He felt threatened when he'd first seen this girl, and now treated her wholeheartedly as a worthy opponent. During the battles between Tang Wulin and Xie, Tang Wulin hadn't been the only one who had benefited. Xie had gained from them as well. At the very least, he understood what it meant when even a tiger had to hunt a rabbit with all of its strength. It was only once the two of them were 30 meters apart from one another that Gu's gaze stopped wandering and settled on Xie. "Begin," Wu Zhongkong simply announced. In the wake of Wu Xiaokong's shout, Xie immediately released his martial soul and flew towards his opponent with his maximum speed. His explosive power was truly astonishing. He launched forwards like a vigorous cheetah. The 30-meter distance between them rapidly closed. Gu didn't seem to react at all. When she finally raised her hand, Xie was but 10 meters away from her. The light dragon dagger sparkled as it struck forth. Xie hadn't released his soul skill immediately. Since he was only a one-ring soul master, he only had one soul skill. Good steel is to be used on the cutting edge of a blade, so he had to wait for best opportunity to erupt with the soul skill. Furthermore, his opponent seemed to have a slow reaction time, so maybe he wouldn't even need to use his soul skill. At that moment, the pace of the running Class 5 students on the track grew even slower. All of their attention was diverted to the battle occurring in the middle of the field. Xie was the most formidable person in their age group, so they thought that this new girl definitely wouldn't be able to defeat him. A soul ring appeared from beneath Gu's feet. This soul ring was the same as Xie's, it was actually a 100-year yellow soul ring. However, Xie was already right in front of her. It was too late for her to do anything now, unless she were an agility system battle soul master. Was she? Definitely not. A green halo burst out of her chest, but Xie was right in front of her now. His light dragon dagger was poised to stab into her shoulder. The green light lingered and Xie's light dragon dagger stabbed into it. Unexpectedly, a force began pressing on him from both sides, like a blowing gale. The light dragon dagger stopped in mid-air, unable to continue its thrust forward at all. Immediately afterwards, Xie was dumbstruck when he saw the green light around Gu turn red and a fireball about the size of a fist appeared right in front of him. Xie certainly proved himself as an agility system battle soul master. At this critical moment, he ferociously twisted his waist in mid-air and spun horizontally. That little fireball missed his face by a hair, only being able to scorch a few hairs on his head. Just as his foot touched the ground, Xie launched himself back, putting quite a distance between him and Gu. What was that power just now? After several hops back, he had opened up a distance of 20 meters between the two of them. When Xie looked at Gu now, a serious expression could be seen. Gu's eyes flashed with a twinkle of surprise. Naturally, she hadn't raised her hand so late due to a slow reaction time, but rather, it had been deliberate. It had all been for the sake of ending the fight in one attack. However, she had never expected Xie's reaction to be even faster than hers. He had actually been able to avoid that fireball. Her serious gaze pierced through Xie while Wu Zhongkong gave her a similar look. This was because Wu Zhongkong hadn't been able to discern what Gu's martial soul was. Just what was this girl's martial soul? That green light seemed to be of the wind element, but that fireball was clearly of the fire element. Could it be? She has twin martial souls of the wind and fire elements. If this was the case, then it would truly be picking up a precious jewel. Xie was a bit short of breath, but he shot towards Gu once more. His speed was clearly faster than before, and he didn't go straight at her this time, rather, he circled around Gu with lightning speed. His speed was so fast that others weren't even able to keep up with his movements. Like this, the distance between the two of them rapidly closed. The yellow soul ring on Gu's body twinkled, concealing her spirit soul. She simply stood there calmly, not even turning to face Xie as he circled her. As the distance grew closer and closer, Xie suddenly exploded forth, sliding forwards at a slant. When he was just 5 meters from Gu, his 100-year soul ring suddenly shined brightly, and he waved his light dragon dagger, sending a blade of light flying towards her. 100-year soul skill, the first soul skill of Xie's light dragon dagger, light dragon blade. The yellow light blade flew through the air while issuing out a dragon's roar. The light grew more and more brilliant. The strangest thing, however, was that as it got closer to Gu until it was finally only 1 meter away from her, it suddenly twisted in the air and changed directions. That was right. This was a powerful 100-year soul skill. Moreover, it had come from Xie's high-class martial soul. Unfortunately, the opponent he faced today was truly unreasonable. Right as the light dragon blade was about to slash Gu's shoulder, a green light appeared once again, meeting the light blade with extreme precision. It was almost as if the green light were also a light blade, only a green-colored one. The green light blade wasn't as powerful as the light dragon blade and was chopped apart in moments. However, that moment's delay allowed Gu to take a step out of the way, completely avoiding the light dragon blade. Xie hadn't considered the possibility of defeating his opponent in a single move. Thus, as his light dragon blade was flying towards Gu, his body sprang towards her as well. While Gu was pacing away from Xie, he had already calculated the distance and appeared on Gu's side with his light dragon blade raised. The outcome seemed like Gu had clashed against his dagger. This unexpected move had even earned a nod from the strict Wu Zhongkong. Although Xie's cultivation hadn't reached 2 rings, he had started to grasp the profound meaning of being an agility system battle soul master. Tang Wulin had his eyes on this match as well. This allowed him to deeply experience the huge difference between him and Xie. His first win was an unexpected victory, and his second was because of the strange golden scales. But in reality, Xie's abilities were far above his. Xie's landing point was a meter away from Gu. This position was within his predictions, allowing him to be within a suitable distance to attack his opponent, but still with sufficient space for escape. Facing a powerful opponent allowed him a chance to further release his potential. However, this opponent was unexpectedly tough. As soon as the tips of his feet touched the ground, Xie felt a sudden suction from the ground, as if stepping into a muddy swamp. He lowered his left leg with a previous intention to spring himself up, but it had changed instantaneously into a ground attack. Gu staggered and her body tilted slightly forward, which allowed her to successfully avoid Xie's attack. At the same time, an icicle shot out from her hand. Its target was not Xie, but the area underneath his feet. The icicle struck onto the mud puddle that Xie's left foot was in and hardened. Xie's leg was stuck. Gu turned and waved her hand. A fireball appeared and flew towards Xie. In this close proximity, it was impossible for Xie to dodge, even if he was an agility system battle soul master. However, at this point of time, Xie revealed his true capabilities. His light dragon blade appeared, and slashed accurately at the incoming fireball. The fireball smashed into a cluster of embers. Gu raised both her arms and released both the icicles and fireballs continuously. With only a light dragon blade, Xie was soon unable to block off Gu's shots. But at the same time, he raised his left hand and the glint between his eyes glowed more intensely. As an agility system battle soul master with twin martial souls, his movement and speed capabilities were strapped off, but he still had confidence in fighting a close-ranged battle. Both of them had one soul ring, which meant that they hadn't reached rank 20 in cultivation. With the gift of twin martial souls and a rank 18 soul master, Xie was confident on winning against his opponent by competing purely on soul power consumption. Light Dragon Dagger and Shadow Dragon Dagger. Both danced in the air and struck precisely at Gu, who collapsed in defeat. It demonstrated Xie's incomparably precise judgment. Wu Zhangkeng's eyes reflected an array of colors, not only for Xie's performance, but Gu's as well. Ice, fire, earth, wind, these four elements had been displayed in her match with Xie. And the display showed a variation of skills in both control and attacks. Though Wu Zhongkong didn't fully understand where Gu's soul skills originate, judging from her ability to utilize four elements all at once with a soul ring proved that she possessed a superior martial soul. A cold grin broke out from the corner of Xie's mouth. Though you are strong, your soul power is incomparable to mine. I possess twin martial souls, and I'm ranked 18. Even by competing solely on the soul power consumption, I can defeat you. It was obvious that everyone else was a one-ring soul master. Xie started feeling the frozen mud loosening and managed to free himself from the shackles that bound his leg. The situation had turned in his favor. However, at this very moment, he caught the grin on Gu's face, shortly followed by a white ball of light from his opponent's hand instead of fireballs. The light bursted before Xie's eyes and blinded him instantaneously. Not good. A voice inside Xie called out and his pair of daggers started waving before him, in hope that by using an intensive series of attacks will fend off the opponent's blows. Good. Let's stop here. Wu Zhongkong voiced out. Xie's sight was only regained after 10 or so seconds, but his eyes were clouded with tears. You've won. Wu Zhongkong pointed his comment towards Gu. Xie argued, Teacher, I didn't lose. My attacks were very intensive and she didn't manage to break it with her attacks. Wu Zhongkong voiced out coolly, You've lost, just take it. While you were anxiously waving your daggers about, she had already moved to your side. Gu grinned, the silver light on her body blinked and shot out 3 meters horizontally. This stunned Xie. This? What ability is this? Gu looked towards Wu Zhongkong, Teacher. So, am I admitted into this academy now? Wu Zhongkong nodded his head, I'll definitely fulfill my promise. However, tell me what is your background, and what was that martial soul of yours? Gu brought out a piece of letter from her chest, this is a recommendation letter from my elementary academy. And as of my martial soul, it is elementalist. Elementalist? Wu Zhongkong questioned himself on the fact that though he had seen much and widened his horizons, this was the first time he had heard of the existence of this martial soul. Gu's match with Xie had displayed her shocking and unrivaled abilities in the following 6 elements: ice, fire, earth, wind, light, and space. One has to know that within the types of martial souls, possessing even one type of element would have been a miraculous existence. But possessing all 6 of the elements, that would have been hard to imagine. When Gu noticed the shock in Wu Zhangkong's eyes, she shared more about her abilities without the intention to hide. I am able to control all 6 elements, but I am unable to attach my soul ring onto any of these elements. Thus, although I can control the change in elements, it is hard to strengthen them. My first soul skill is Elemental Tide. It allows my soul power to hold on for a long period of time, and at the same time, allowing me the ability to better control the strength of the elements. After hearing Gu's descriptions, Wu Zhongkong finally understood. As expected, there was absolutely no way to have that kind of control of all the elements and an unusually powerful soul per element. She only had 1 martial soul, not 6. The ability to control all 6 elements at the same time would mean that she wouldn't be able to specialize in any one element, and all of the 6 elements didn't come with additional soul skills. What Gu had displayed a moment ago derived from how she was able to control the elements, as well as their release. No wonder none of the abilities seemed particularly strong, and it was only under Gu's clever application that allowed her to defeat Xie. However, this martial soul of Gu's was definitely a superior one, and it wouldn't pale in comparison to twin martial souls in any way. Disregarding other abilities, her mere use of the earth element to construct a swamp to trap Xie, and her use of ice element to freeze it was a sign that she had some knowledge in making use of the element's properties to her advantage. If she were to be trained appropriately, it would be possible to groom her into a genius soul master. Wu Zhongkong continued, "Good. I've understood. You are now a part of our class, first year class 5. This video will end here.